Howdy Smite fans, J-Mac here. Week number 2 of the SPL is all wrapped up, and we had some matchups this weekend that may have gone a little unexpected for some of the fans out there. If you happen to miss any of the matches, don't worry, I'll help you out as we go through this week's edition of the SPL Weekly Recap. Well, match number 1 of the week was the Camelot Kings up against the Solar Scarabs. And the Scarabs started the set with a pretty convincing game number 1, but Camelot Kings were undeterred, putting up a strong fight in games 2 to tie up the set, and then in game 3 with a commanding win to take the set 2-1. And our second set was the Oni Warriors up against the Jade Dragons. And even though the Warriors were hot off their victory against the Leviathans last week, the Dragons seemed unfazed, showing the Warriors just who the top dog was. Pagon and Final K went on a tear to command the set for a 2-0 win for the Dragons. Then, to kick off our Saturday, we had our match of the week between the Atlantis Leviathans and the Tartarus Titans. With our World's Finals rematch, we got a solid look at where our former top 2 teams stood. Game number 1, the Titans had Coach Benji step in for the solo lane, and while he held his own against Yarkor, the rest of his team struggled to keep up during the team fights. The Leviathans pulled too much of a lead for the Titans to fight back and take game 1. And game number 2 gave us a prime example of what the Leviathans can do when Zapman is able to pull out the lead. Early duo pressure between Zapman and Rong Yu and the rest of the Leviathans are able to net themselves a clean and concise 2-0 win over the Tartarus Titans. And then following up that match, we had the Oni Warriors up against the Valhalla Valkyries. Once again, the Valks found a massive game 1 win over the opposition. However, the Warriors were able to rally themselves together and shut down both Benny and Kirmi inside the mid 2v2 for both of the games after that. Game 2 and 3 go to the Oni Warriors and the set 2-1. Our triple header of Sunday starts off with the Atlantis Leviathans up against the Olympus Bolts. Lasbra and the Bolts started off on a tear in game number 1, picking up 3 early kills around the duo lane. And even despite the kill deficit, the Leviathans' macro play was at least able to keep them at pace early on. But the Leviathans couldn't keep up with the late game damage coming from the Bolts, and the Bolts took game 1. Game number 2 was much of the same start, but with a little bit more fight back out of the Leviathans this time. However, once again, we get to these late game team fights, and no one on the Leviathans can even phase Haddix's Cthulhu, and the Bolts slam home a 2-0 victory over the Leviathans. Our second set pit the Tartarus Titans up against the Valhalla Valkyrie, and game number 1 was a complete shutdown in the mid against the Valks. While SOT didn't get to play much of the game in game number 1, the rest of his team around him was able to clean it up. Game number 2 started out all for the Valkyries, but one team fight under the mid Phoenix completely turns the game around, and the Titans are able to snag away a 2-0 victory. And then to close out our weekend, we had the Jade Dragons up against the Camelot Kings. Game number 1, the Kings found success through their jungle and Hunter, with Captain Twig leading the charge through the early game. Second game, the team fight of the Jade Dragons outshined that of the Kings, netting them a win to tie up the set. And then in game number 3, the Kings decisively closed out the set with a commanding performance out of Captain Twig and Variety to take the set 2-1 over the Dragons. And there you have it. With week number 2 of the SPL now complete, we can take a nice look at the standings to see where everybody's at. As of now, the Camelot Kings are leading the charge through the league, but there's still 2 more weeks to play. Week number 3 is coming right up. If you miss out on any of the videos, you can catch them out on our YouTube channel over on SmiteVod, or you can watch the games live over on twitch.tv/SmiteGame coming up next.